Hey man, how are you?
Good man. How are you?
Good, bro. Good. Thank you for jumping on.
That's all right. I'm just going to transfer you into my headphones.
Yeah,
Hopefully
that's
this.
all right.
How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, man. Thank you. It's been good. I'm happy to have you on, man. I think it was after I had did my first ever one, and I had Jaden on, and we were talking about how you sponsoring him and that, and I was like, yeah, Jared's a good one that I'd love to get on and talk about, his companies and him as an athlete. So I'm happy to finally get you on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on, man. So I appreciate you asking.
Well, we'll just get kind of straight into it. Pretty much, first kind of question is, what kind of came first? Because I don't know all about, the beginning. I've seen you, I was at the show when you competed and won juniors. I've, seen you on social media with some of your businesses, but they had all been kind of running. So I just wanted to kind of get the backstory of how it all kind of started and what came first, your businesses or, your bodybuilding kind of career.
Yeah, so I guess the bodybuilding was definitely something that came first. In terms of when I say bodybuilding came first, it was at the competitive side. What was I, about probably 14, 15? I was transferring out of a football sort of background into the gym. And then started that bodybuilding passion. From there, that's where the first business evolved, which was Purpose Fitness Australia,
Yeah.
which was pretty much stemmed from me entering the gym. Obviously, that ignited the passion, which is why I started Purpose. And then from there, it's just been another business ever since. And in between competing, a new business would start, and that's kind of how it all evolved. So yeah, the business was definitely generated from me entering the gym. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
And then from there, then that competitive nature and competing kind of followed suit. And then, like you were just saying, that that's in between the both.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you always have like envision yourself as being a business person? Like, was it always something that you knew, okay, I wanted to run a business. How am I going to go about it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was always something that, from a young age, I think was instilled in me. My father ran a massive company. He had partners actually at the time, and I always made him a promise. So I was like, one day, Dad, I'll take over this company. I'll retire you, and I'll make you proud. Unfortunately, that partnership didn't last too long. After those words were said, my father still runs business, but not in that company anymore. Um, and essentially, my parents gave me a lot of opportunities growing up in the sporting field. So when I was younger, toured Brazil in my sporting background, and that sort of taught and instilled so many traits and discipline and determinations and characteristics that I obviously take into business now. So I think yes, it was definitely something that I was always destined to do. Was to sort of lead. I've
Yeah.
always sort of been a leader of some sort. Even in my other jobs, I was always looking for that promotion or that progressive role. I was a checkout boy. Used to stock the shelves at a younger age. So, even with that, it wasn't long before I was, a supervisor and, taking care of many departments and so forth. So it was always something that was in my nature to lead and to always be promoted and to excel at whatever I did. So business was definitely something that was on the cards and something that I saw, which I believe was very much from my father's teachings, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can see how, you have that. I feel like I was gonna say you're either born with it or not, but I guess in your case, you can also be influenced by people around you. So, for example, like you're saying, your father, you either get in a job and you're happy with what you do, or you seek a bit more. You seek how far can I go in this opportunity? What can I do? And you really chase progression in all areas of life, and you've really shown and led by example of that with everything that you've achieved so far.
Yeah, 100%. And something you just said there is like you're either born with it or you're not. I think, it's definitely something that people are, brought up into. But I think it comes very much so like a lot of people ask me now, like, how do you do it? It's like I had a choice. I could have got caught up. I'm from a country town, so I could have got caught up with the crowd that I was with, and that was involved in drugs and not any progression in life whatsoever. On the piss every weekend. That small community sort of mindset. But I trained myself to steer away from that, and I instill behaviors that every single day push me closer to where I need to be as a human and as a person. So I think, it is definitely, family or people around you do have a massive influence on something that you're brought into. But it's as an individual, it's how you train yourself in your mind, where you end up.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think, you can have influences around you that can dictate, like you said, if you stayed back there in the country town and with those kind of people, you may not have progressed to where you are now, but you still got to take the limitations of yourself and go, okay, well, am I happy with, this everyday life, or do I want to seek more? Do I want to progress more? Where do I envision myself? And then that's when then it's important to have those right environment around you to really excel where you need to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you hit it nail on the head there with taking those caps off yourself and understanding where you want to be, and asking that exact question:
Yeah.
where do you want to be with yourself? So, yeah, exactly. I believe that for sure.
So run me through. So which came first? Purpose Fitness, like the PTing, or Purpose Nutrition?
Purpose Fitness came first. So I entered the gym, coming off like I said, come off the back of a sporting background.
Yeah.
So I did pretty much everything, but I was extremely good at soccer. Toured Brazil at the age of like 13 or 14. Left that and started to go into more sort of union and then rugby league at my later years. So sporting was always something that was instilled in me. From there, obviously from the transfer from soccer or football, that's what we called it, into rugby union. I was a prop, so that came size. So that's where we entered the gym and started, and at that point, that was where the Instagram influencers was at its peak. That was where like EHB athletes were huge, the Gymshark athletes were just booming. Instagram were exposed to. So as I entered the gym, that's where the hype of the motivation and that inspiration came from those individuals. And aspiring to be that kind of caliber of an athlete. And then obviously as I got into the gym, obviously being a small country town, I just found that's where it just ignited a fire in my belly like nothing else. So like I said, I've come from a sporting background, done all these things, but nothing lit the fire as much as pursuing that bodybuilding path. As I got into there, I often find is like passion and purpose will always find you. So if you're destined for something, it will find you. You don't have to look for it; it will find you. And it found me. So I was about 16, and graduated Cert 3 and Cert 4 in fitness. And my mentor at the time was like, he just found something in me. He's like, you're going to do really well. Excelled through the course, done that, and the next thing you know, my mother and I are registering my first company. Which was a sole trader at the time, which was Purpose Fitness, which we later evolved to a PTY Limited, obviously, as it grew. So Purpose Fitness was one of the first things that came at the age of 16. So we registered that back 6th of March, 2016-ish, 17-ish. Yeah. So
That's interesting, especially from the mindset of when you think about, that we're in a day and age where there's so many PTs, and like, I feel that people, create a business, but don't go to that, or, create, an Instagram, like they feel like the Instagram is the validation of the business or whatever. And I think, in the day and age of technology and media, it is to an extent, but, taking that extra step and, filing that business name, getting an ABN, getting all those extra, legal sides of it to really standardize, okay, this is a proper business, I'm going to take it somewhere. I think being able to do that at such a young age really, I guess, set, like how I see it is, it could set that standard of, okay, well, this is going to be something more than just I've a PT business and I run it through Instagram, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. So that was something that like my family, everyone around me from a young age always used to laugh about, was just how creative my mind was, and there was no limitation.
Yeah.
If I was doing something, like, it was just absolutely crazy. And they're like, you're nuts. Anyway, so that's kind of how I'd approach. So when I launched the business, it wasn't just like, oh, okay, I'm going to PT some people. When I started the business, my game plan was to literally change the world. And that's exactly what was kind of done. So that's why we've been evolving so many different companies, because there's always a problem in certain areas of the industry that we're trying to improve. And that's the thing. I just do whatever I want. If I find something, I do what I want. no hesitation about it. And that's why I get fulfillment, because it's a purpose and a passion of mine. So, and that's kind of how it's just evolved ever since. So, yeah, when I started the coaching business, to say, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, let's just go to the gym and do a 9 to 5 and book out that consult.
Yeah.
But when I started that was the beginning. But there's always been a 10-year goal, and we're 7 years on that 10-year goal, and that 10-year goal is massive, and we're pretty much continue to follow that. There's been a few new additions that we haven't really sort of planned on, but it's we're definitely on that track for that 10-year goal, and that hasn't changed.
So that 10-year goal was when you decided, yeah, this is what we're doing, this is the plan, this is the business, we're starting it. You wrote that 10-year goal, and then it wasn't something that kind of progressed over time. It was something from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's something that I've just envisioned ever since. It's just, I've had it in my head. I've had it, how it looked, how it was laid out, everything. And then obviously, every few years, every now and again, I'll sit down and be creative, and I'll redo it, re-edit it, change it. And obviously, now where we are with the level of our companies, we've just redone all of the proposed business plans that we present to banks, to investors, and we just keep feeding those pipelines, so that way when we're ready to initiate the 10-year goal, we're ready to go. We've got those relationships and those networks ready to go. So
that's amazing.
So it's been something we've been, I keep saying we, but it's just me. There's no one else. There's no investors yet. There's nothing. But yeah, it's been something that's been going on, and it takes a long time, but we've still got 3 years to achieve it. So this year's going to be one of the biggest years for that next milestone of scale.
Definitely. No, it's really inspiring to, it really shows the importance of setting that goal, whatever it may be. I think it's really important. Something that I've learned as well, like, sometimes you get lost between, okay, do I set a really big goal, but then you focus too much on the big goal and you forget about the small steps along the way. Then people go, you set the small steps, and then the big goal will come. But I think it's, that combination of both. Like you're saying, you have that really, really big goal that seems unattainable, and then you slowly continue to progress with, like you're saying, okay, 5 years, we're going to meet this. And if we hit this at 5 years, that means we're 2 steps closer to that 10-year mark. And, it's really good to see that, you're really showing and leading how that works, and proving that it does work that way.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, like it does get quite hard sometimes. And now that we're at this brink of like, what I like to do is I work business development in different stages. So like when you start, you're a student, like you're a fresh student, you're learning, you've got no idea, and then from there, the student then plants a seed, and then the next part of the growth is seed. So what you're going to do is you're continually investing, you're continually watering that seed, and eventually you're going to hit those next points of scale. So as we enter in this next point of scaling, obviously we're past our seed point, so we're up to the next point to actually succeeding at what we're trying to achieve. That takes a whole nother level of strategy, focus, and it takes a lot of skill outside where my knowledge is. So a part of that is, we've actually just set up for January to meet with some, very big business coaches, wealth accountants, or wealth generating, financial advisors, etc., to get all of the pipelines ready to make sure that we can actually hit that 10-year goal. And the reason why I sort of address that is because as a business owner who's, now a dad, who works with clients and problems every single day, who runs multiple different facets, looks after staff, plus trying to, do my own bodybuilding pursuing, it's very easy when you're looking at these pipelines and these goals and stuff to get caught inside it instead of taking a step outside and looking at things bigger.
Yeah.
So it's important. And that's why I keep popping up my business plan and just kind of refreshing, look at the numbers, look at the targets. Every month now, I'm trying to sort of reset the focus, reset the strategies, reset the goals, and just say, is this on the path of where we need to be? Because too often, especially this year, or even towards the end of last year with COVID and stuff, the head was just in the game. It was just like, let's just get shit sorted. Let's make sure that we don't go under with COVID. And it's very easy to get distracted. And you have a lot of outside voices giving their opinions, and they've got no idea where you're heading. So, I guess for people that are sort of, in this sort of, part of trying to grow or plan and stuff like that, just make sure you have someone or something that you can pull yourself out externally and look at the bigger goal, or write yourself a plan to then look at that bigger goal. And just remember your whys, remember your purpose. Because there's been times in the business where I'm like what am I doing it all for again? You lose your focus, and sometimes you lose your why as to why you're doing it originally. And you get distracted sometimes. Some people go, oh, why don't you do this? And you're like, oh, that's a cool idea. But you got to remember your grassroots, the reason why you started. I always listen to people, but you don't always have to take it on, because often they have no idea and they don't think like you. And typically the people they're putting their input in, and this is not to be offensive, but they're not at your level. They're typically down here still playing with 5-cent coins.
Yeah.
It's like we're two different levels. You know what I mean? So if that advice was coming from someone who's already done what you're trying to do, you'd probably take it with a bit more grain of salt. So yeah, it's just super important to kind of have those bigger goals and those little goals. But it's very important to make sure every couple of months you're pulling yourself out and refocusing your whys, your purposes, what's generating, why you're doing it in the beginning. Because sometimes that motivation can die, or there could be distractions that lead you off path, and then you've just wasted, a year, couple of months doing nothing. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a hard thing when you're in that grind all the time.
Definitely, sure. I can see how it can really create like a limiting factor where you, like you're saying, you kind of get so just stuck in the moment and you forget the purpose, you forget the reason, and you all of a sudden, when you come back 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, and then you do the real evaluation, like, oh fuck, I've lost like 2-3 months where we could have really progressed in this area or that area, because you really limited your resources in that manner.
100%. And I think it comes down to people's characteristics. Like, I'm very strong-minded, so I believe I'm very good at how I handle things and objections and stuff like this. But people who are just like fairies, that are just all over the place, that's where coaches, whether it's in your fitness journey or in your business journey or whatever journey you're trying to get, whether you're trying to, like, say, for a house or investment properties, whatever eventually you're trying to do, if you are easily distracted or can't focus or can't execute a plan, or can't even show discipline to that plan, then that's where outsourcing to coaches or advisors is super important. And that's kind of where we're at now, is like we're at a point where my knowledge can no longer go any further. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep churning the wheels with no traction. So it's like we have to outsource to make sure that we've got the plan set now and we're moving forward. Otherwise, if I get the next 3 years, I go to execute the 10-year goal, and then we go, shit, we have to reset and do another 3 years because we've just stuffed up again. So it's super important. Like, so it all comes down to people's characteristics, but there's times where everyone needs a coach or a mentor above them, or an advisor for sure. And that just, it's not saying that you don't know what you're doing or that you're not good at what you're doing. It's more so just for that reset,
second eye, just to help out a bit, because like you said, your knowledge only goes so far. There's a moment where you've got to outsource, and you're outsourcing at someone that's, like you said, done what you're doing, been there, has the knowledge. They can reopen your eyes to a whole new lot of stuff that you may not have realized.
100%. And the biggest thing is, like, us as individuals, we carry emotion. The person who is you're outsourcing or advising to, they don't have the emotion to your business, or they don't have the emotion to your decisions. Like, so it's not their money on the table. So the emotion and the logical thinking that comes from them is going to be a lot more effective than your internal.
Yeah. And I think that's what really is important, especially as, and I'm sure this as being a good leader and a business person. I feel sometimes, especially you see it a lot in retail, too many bosses or corporation stuff like that, they get too subjective. And so then they think they're, running a good business, but you look at it and you're really like, well, I'm looking at objectively, and like there's so many things you could improve on. And they're like, no, we know what we're doing, but because they're so subjective too, because all that emotion is there. Yeah,
that's it. And that's what we typically call closed minders. You know what I mean? So closed minders are the ones that, think the shit don't stink. Open minders that will take in a lot of outside opinions and, feedback, look internal, do the work necessary, apply changes, and that's how that's the roadmap of evolution. That's when they evolve. So
to your purpose fitness, that came first in that, and I'm really interested because I've seen you still do like what clients you do. So I've seen you do, I don't know if it's been a lot regularly, but face to face, you still got the online coaching. Is that a passion that's always going to be a part of the plan? Like, have you ever had, because I know you have some other coaches within the purpose fitness, has there ever been moments where you felt, okay, I can step away from this now and I can focus on, let's say, the purpose nutrition or purpose distribution, and then, leave it just to these coaches that you've hired?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question, and I think it's something that a lot of people get confused at with myself. And they're like, oh, I want to work with you. And that's the beauty is like a lot of people want to work with me. We've had many coaches that worked for us. We've tried to, we've had hundreds of leads for these coaches to take on. It doesn't work. At the end of the day, a lot of these PTs that are entering the space, we have systems, we have processes, we have everything covered. And if you can't make it work in our internal walls with all supplies that we give you, you're never ever going to make it.
Yeah.
And we've worked with a lot of coaches that think it's going to be easier, but the simple thing is like it's a sales game.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, people want things handed to them on a silver platter. So we provide all the services, we provide all the policies, we provide everything, all the leads, whatever. But we're not going to be doing all of your manual work, like something you got to do. So we've worked with coaches in the past. We've either trained them up, taught them everything that they need to know, given them all the policies, all the credit stuff, all of the programs, like the way that we structure our programs to get great results, and they end up just pissing off. Have I seen them succeed? No, they're back working a normal job, and that's the thing. So me now, I'm like, at the end of the day, people want to work with me. I'm the central person. So when it comes to my coaching, I'm so passionate about it. And the day, like, it's in terms of our businesses, it's not money. At the day, it's what I do for passion. I love working with people. I like transforming. I like taking someone's mindset from being so fragile and sensitive to them being completely unstoppable. I like seeing people dramatically transform. And with my knowledge and my studies, that's what I excel at. And it's something that's always been a natural calling for me. So for me to offload that onto another coach would probably lose a lot of our business because people buy and invest into me as the person. So bringing on coaches is not something we're going to be doing. It's not something that I'm going to be doing any further. So coaching I'll always do. However, though, the model of the business has changed. So before, before we had all these companies, we used to work with anyone that just wanted our help. We are now more of a premium service, and like you've probably seen, we're working with athletes.
Yeah.
So we work with athletes of all different kinds and all different calibers. Obviously, with my level of education, it far exceeds the normal of what the fitness industry is, and we are not going to be doing price wars with these coaches that are doing macros. And that's no offense to them; they're good at what they do.
Yeah.
I'm good at what I do. So we actually just are very selective with who I take on now, and we work with athletes. I'm not sure if you saw my post the other day, but I'm like, we don't work with quitters because no matter how good you are, how much you do, how much you offer, how much you bend over and, hold their hand. If they're a quitter, they're always going to quit and you're always going to be the problem no matter what. Athletes are a different kind of nature. They have the same mindset, they have the same values, and they'll pay anything and they'll do any bit of work that is necessary in order to get them to the goal. And that's the difference. So we work with people that are aligned with our values and where we're trying to head as a company, as a business, and me as an individual. Because if they're on the same frequency, then we can understand, and the results are so much more significant. It was a bit of a scary change, but it's been one of the best things I've ever done. We've got less headaches in the business. We've got less, overdues. We've got better client results, better relationships, and we're attracting a lot more athletes. We're fully booked out. So, we work with, people all around the world. We've getting an Italian rowing champion ready for the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, I remember seeing you posting about that, the wakeboarding too.
Yeah, we've got the pro wakeboarder going to USA for 5 months. We work with, a lot of our natural pros. We've got IFBBs, bikinis, all different kind of athletes. We've worked with soccer players, football players, so there's a lot that we do, and I absolutely love the work. And that's the biggest thing. It's about, I don't do it for the money. I do it for what I love.
Yeah.
And that application and taking athletes to their optimal potential. So that was the biggest thing about purpose. Purpose is about helping people find their purpose and unlocking the potential that they never saw in themselves.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, quitters will always quit, even no matter how much you try and push into their purpose. They'll always just find an excuse or a reason to give up. And it's like, okay, you expect me to commit to you, but you can't even commit to yourself. It's just not going to work. So whereas, the athletes, they're unstoppable. but sometimes they can be great or have natural abilities, but they don't quite understand themselves or know how to get themselves to be superior.
Yeah.
And that's where I come in and we work with my biochemistry knowledge and excel on far beyond that. And it's working quite well. So we're more of a premium service now. So moving forward, that's what we're going to continue to excel at is athlete-based coaching.
Yeah.
I am actually in the works of developing, with some developers at the moment. Not cheap, but it's essentially rather me employing coaches, because my goal is to always to help people, but unfortunately my time's limited. So it's like, how can you help 1 million people by just one person? You can't. So what we're trying to do is, rather than me teaching coaches and giving all my resources to coaches and wasting my time on coaches that are just going to leave to do it themselves, what we're doing is we're actually working with developers at the moment to put my brain into a program that can then generate a personalized programming system for
Like an AI.
Yeah, AI. Not cheap, but that's what we're working on at the moment. So that way, people who can't afford my service or who aren't at the level of athletes but still want my help, they will get exactly how I would program, but without my personal communication there 24/7.
That's crazy. That's really cool. That's like, I think, a really good vision to head towards and something to work on. I think that's a really big, something that I've always really enjoyed that I've seen, you've always found ways to be innovative, change the game, take it to the next level. And that's what, what I was just about to say about, this transition you've done with being more of a premium service for athletes. I think it's interesting. I always looked at PTing and gone, when do you get to that stage and, how do you level up? If you don't become like, a coach where you're doing pros or you're getting people, pro cards from a competitive standpoint, how do you have a normal generic PTing and, take it to that next level? And what you're saying is like a perfect example of that, going, okay, well, I'm going to no longer do Gen Pop, we're only going to focus on athletes. Okay, how can we focus on athletes and how can we take it to the next level? All right, I'm going to expand from not just bodybuilders, but also, all other fields of sports. And, I think that's really a great example for anybody listening to really go, okay, if they really want to take their level of their business to whatever the next step is, I think that's a great way to kind of really assess and go, all right, it's not just about being a PT. It's not just about how I can help others, but it's about what is the most innovative way. I think that's really important, how to be innovative, especially when the market is so saturated.
That's it, 100%. And that's what you got to figure out. It's like, and that's what I was kind of sitting back for. It's like, my knowledge and all of my studies are up here, the industry normals here. Still at set 3, some people aren't even qualified.
Yeah.
And it's like, and people are trying to compare me down here. It's like, no, it doesn't work this way. And it's like, and the one thing that people don't understand as well, it's like when I bring an athlete on the stage, it's like, if you're not going to talk to me or not going to do what is needed, you're also going to understand that you're representing me and our company on that stage along with yourself. So it's like, when I bring people to the stages or when I bring people up to whatever, podium that they're sort of presented on in terms of their athletic ability, it's not just me. And then it's, you're representing the business. And that's something that I take, my reputation and my business is something that I take very seriously. So it's like, when people look at us, I want the right message to be, carried along with it. So by having the right people, so it's like, I could work with 100 clientele and it's like, when we're booked out and we've worked with Gen Pop, yeah, okay, cool, we're booked out with Gen Pop. That's great. But when I looked at the results, I'm like, these are subpar. Now, when we work with athletes, the results are remarkable. They're incredible. Why? It's not the coaching. It's the application of the effort to the programs and the compliance.
Definitely.
So it's like, for me as a business, when I'm trying to excel as being, a superior, premium, and, industry leading company, you cannot have subpar results. You have to talk the talk that you're trying to talk. And so by doing that, we have and attract people that, align with our values. And then therefore, when we produce or, those people are out, on social media representing us, then it also carries that message that we're trying to do. And people will see that and see that, okay, these guys are quality. And that's what we stand for, is quality.
Yeah, it's always quality, especially in business, quality over quantity, no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. So
So from then Purpose Fitness, and then when did the distribution side and the pre-workout and getting your best, like you partnered with Honey Robot and Evogen, and you're bringing that over here. How did that all come about? Because I think that's an amazing. I guess if there's, it's probably a long story. So if there's a way that you can kind of explain it, because I just
yeah,
think it's amazing that you're able to do something like that. I think being the central point of being able to, because that's like half the reason why I started the podcast is, I want to be able to bridge that gap for, bodybuilders and athletes, because we are so segregated in Australia compared to America and, the Europe and that. So it's great to see there's other people doing that type of thing in different avenues. For example, with the U and the distribution.
yeah, exactly. So to keep the story short, so essentially I moved here up from New South Wales in 2018. April 2018 was when I moved. And with that move, I was actually a sponsored athlete at the time with Amada Nutrition. And my athlete manager actually presented a store. And there was a brand new elite supplement store here on the Gold Coast. So I bought that, moved up, started that in a brand new, city, knew no one. That's the best way to sort of test your business skills, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Anyways, I had that store for about 2 years. As I got more into it, there's more rules that sort of came out. And obviously, the more I evolved as a coach, the more I kind of realized that the franchise and the store that I had wasn't aligning with the morals and the values I had. So I closed the contract and forfeited the store, rebranded, and that's when I founded Purpose Nutrition. So the store evolved and rolled over into Purpose Nutrition. And a part of rolling out into Purpose Nutrition was there was so many customers and clients that were getting burnt by uneducated supplement stores, owners, staff. And there was no entry requirement to be a supplement store manager, casual, whatever. You could just go in off the street and start selling supplements, which I think was a bit absurd. So I came in with the stance, okay, well, everyone that I employed had to be qualified or taught by me.
Yeah.
So that way, everyone that we had in our store, we were teaching the ethical approach to supplements. So it wasn't like, and there were so many people that were getting burnt. They were getting sold stuff that doesn't work or stuff that wasn't right for them. Or, I won't name names, but bigger stores were essentially making customers walk out with $400 of supplements.
Yeah.
And the customer would walk out and be like, I felt no change. And that was the thing. So we came in with the approach of, okay, we're going to bring quality. We're going to sell what works, and we're going to teach people how to use it with what works. So we applied our coaching knowledge in with the supplements. And because at the end of the day, supplements are beneficial and they're getting a very bad name. So we came with the new approach of, okay, let's improve this industry. Let's increase the quality of the products that we're bringing in. And let's also increase the consumer's trust and bring something that's much better. And that's what we did. So we evolved something, and now when we teach people, people understand why they're getting great quality products. And everyone that tries one of our products, whether it's from Evogen or some other brand, they use it and they're like, wow, this is great. You know what I mean? So, and then as well as a lot of free articles, there's a lot of free educations on there. So people can dive in as much as they want. We also then brought out the very first, and it's never been seen in Australia, it's a consulting side to the business. So now that we're an online business and we shut down the stores in COVID, we now offer an online consulting business side of it. So people who are unsure of how to use supplements or what's right for them or how to do it, they can jump on the website, book a call, and they'll have a call with me or one of my staff. And then we will teach them exactly what supplements they need by going through them as an individual. So the supplement side was like, okay, well, yes, we're now an e-commerce site, but we're not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
So it's like you have the opportunity to get customized support and help. It's not like, oh, just take this. But that's up to the individual and how far they want to go into the help. Some people just know what they want because they've got coaches that just tell them. So it's great. But at least when you're buying from our site, you're getting quality products that are trusted, that are either high quality, trusted, and backed by science.
Yeah.
And that's what we stand for. And we would never sell something that either I wouldn't give my daughter or I wouldn't take myself.
No, I love that. I love that a lot. I think that's really good because I remember when I first, started and, went to the supplement store and that, and, I was having issues with, certain whey proteins, and I'm like, it's making me feel a bit sick. I don't understand what's going on. And I went to all these different stores, and like you talk to these people and they're like, oh, it's just that brand. Try this brand. You spend like $100 on a tub, and then all of a sudden, one scoop in, you same shit, and you go to another one. or maybe you should try, maybe you should try vegan. You try vegan and it's just like, oh, this is no different. And it's just like, it's great that you've set up something that really helps stand you out by having that, being able to someone being able to consult with you, or someone that you've educated to then go, okay, so what are maybe your dietary requirements? What are your current goals? And then really give them the supplements that they need. I think that is something that's definitely lacking within, without, like you said, naming names of different companies out there that, selling supplements. So it's, yet again, applaud to you with your dedication to make a business, know what's missing, and be innovative. Like, I commend you for that.
Yeah, so that's essentially how we've all started. So we just literally just brought out something that just we find a hole, we listen to the customers, and that's the thing. We listen to people,
Yeah.
and we go, okay, well, this is what's happening. How do we fix it? And that's what we do. So that's kind of how Purpose Nutrition evolved. From there, very quickly, we looked at, okay, we need to bring high quality products in, and that's where Purpose Distribution was founded. So when I was actually competing in the Arnold's and the qualifiers where I won the junior title in 2020, I was actually sitting up January and February, like literally not sleeping, a couple of weeks out from show. I think it was like 6 weeks out from show, not sleeping because I was actually on the phone on Zoom call with Honey and his sales guys from Evergen Nutrition and all of these other international brands. We actually had a big brand from the UK as well that we're bringing in. So I was up on the phone. So what would happen is I'd go to sleep at 10 o'clock, sleep for about 2 hours. Midnight was about 8, 9 o'clock over there for them. So they'll just start in the day. So at midnight, I'd get up, I'd have a coffee, and then I'd work. I'd work till about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, go back and sleep, get up at 5, 6 a.m. to do my cardio, and then I start my day.
That's
and
crazy.
That's how it kind of evolved. So, prep took a huge toll in that. And business took a huge toll at the same time during my prep.
Yeah.
Never do it again, but it was all worth it because, we got to work and network with Honey, one of the world's best prep coaches in the world. And we got to import some great products. And once we got that brand on, it was just a steamroll. We just had brands and high quality, Matt Jensen, Revive, Raw, so Chris Bumstead's brand. We've been in contact with them, Team HD, so Dorian Hamilton. So, next year, we just open up this can of worms and we're now networking with some of the elite coaches and companies internationally. And that was my goal, was Australia is so far behind in the sports sector compared to these countries. And we look at these guys, and us as Australians, we aspire to be like these guys. And here I am being the central key holder and talking and networking with these guys. And that was a huge, exciting thing for me. That like out of nowhere, without really trying or knowing what I was doing, I just sort of found my way.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's a super important message to take from that is like, you just got to give life a go. Because if I didn't try, none of this would have happened.
But even like back on what you said a bit earlier on to do with like, your purpose will kind of find you, if you're doing stuff you just eventually fall into place. If you're following your passions, the purpose that you're meant to do, will find you. And that seems like what you're saying is kind of happening, like putting in the effort. A lot of people, this is also a great reminder. A lot of people want to be something, do something, not being average, not work a 9 to 5, but no one really wants to put in the work. Like how many people would want to, do what you did during your prep, already suffering with, the toll of prep, but then to go, but I can't let my business fall behind. I'm going to get up in the middle of the night, have a coffee, work for 3 hours, go back to bed for 2 hours. And, you're really doing 4 hours sleep. And I can imagine how much that would have affected, prep, especially being 6 weeks out, in January, February.
Yeah, it took a toll on me. It took a toll on prep. It took a toll on my relationship. It took a toll on everything. But the one thing that didn't go backwards is business. Yeah. And that was my number one focus, was never let, and especially my clients. I always used to check in. We fallen behind? No. And that was something that I was really proud of, was to be able to maintain that kind of threshold of workload. But then towards the end, I was up every night anyway. So I was just like, with low body fat, I was just staring at the ceiling like, okay, let's go do some work. And because I wouldn't sleep, I'd go and do work. So rather than sit there and twiddle my thumb, I made progressive measures when I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Probably stupid, but anyways.
But hey,
it paid off. We won.
Exactly.
We won, and now we are where we are. So
exactly, like, and even that, because hopefully, regardless if, you didn't decide to do that, and you get to your 10-year and you activate your 10-year goal, there's a possibility that that may not have happened because, you kind of start your business on the brakes. You have a goal, you've got to do whatever you can, no matter what, to hit that goal. Once you hit that 10-year goal, then, I'm sure you'll want to keep going above and beyond, but I'm sure there'll be moments there where you can finally, step back a little bit in that regard. So,
100%.
you don't have to do things like that anymore, but you put in the time back then.
Yeah, exactly. That was what it was all about. So it was good.
That's awesome. So kind of going into, being an athlete now. So when did you have you always worked with Logan? Because from far as I've known you've worked with Logan. Has that's been from the very beginning of your competitive season?
No. So I did it with Logan. So me and Logan became really good friends, and obviously my coach, he's just a legend, just down to earth. I get on well with his personality. Just a legend.
Yeah.
So we started pretty much 2019. I remember I competed back in 2017 was my first show. Did 2 seasons there. 2018, I was under Nathan Williamson, IFBB Pro,
Yeah.
for the Arnold Classic. And then from there, we went into 2020 prep. But by the time I moved to the Gold Coast, I saw Logan back at the 2018 Arnold's with his team, the Team Sacrifice. I sort of knew who he was from following him on Instagram. He looks scary, but when you know him, he's actually just a big teddy bear.
Very
He's
humble,
just a teddy bear. Yeah,
very polite. Yeah.
So then, obviously, I was training at Ashmore World Gym a lot. Would see him. I work with a lot of sort of coaches. I've watched some people. I didn't really trust anyone. And then obviously, I just sort of got on well. Saw the results he generated. And I was like, yeah, look, let's do some work. And it started off as one PT session, and then the coaching evolved from there. But pretty much, I said, I went to him 2019. I said to him, I was like, I'm coming to win. So, I was 56 weeks out, and I was like, you've got my full commitment, no breaks. Let's go. So 56 weeks out. So it was probably one of the longest preps of my life. But I literally just gave that 56 weeks my blood, sweat, and tears, everything. Not one thing was done off the plan. We just executed everything. We focused on development. My leg development was something we focused on. So every week I was in the gym with him, working once a week with him for legs. And then, next thing you know, it was prep time. So 2020, and we're lucky we came away with a win, which was great. Unfortunately, COVID hit, so we didn't get to do the Arnolds, which I would have loved to obviously do the Arnolds and come up with all the guys in Australia and see how we competed, but that's okay. Then obviously after the prep, we were in COVID, so the coaching kind of just stopped. I just did my own thing, focused on life. And then now sort of looking at getting back onto stage. It's unconfirmed yet, but now we're just I've got all my programs that I'm doing myself. I found it a really nice fit. Obviously, with me studying biochemistry, I've been playing with a few things for myself, just finding things that work really well for me. So I found that little hole. It's just my physique's just completely changed. I'm in love with the results I'm getting for myself. So I'm keeping that and keep trialing new things for myself. But I'm back in the gym with Logan at the moment, just once a week. So we're focusing on the weak areas. So I wrote my program. I'm like, all right, Logs, murder me. Let's go. We need to bring these up if I want to compete again. Yeah. So we've been focusing on lats from the front shot and a lot more legs as well. So still focused on hamstrings. That's probably one of my biggest hamstrings and calves in the back shot. And the front shot was the lats, get enough width in those lats to bring out those two shots. And that's where I think we'll definitely come away with another win, hopefully. But it's unconfirmed yet. But yeah, so that's kind of how we're just working now. It's just focused on its improvement season. Yeah. So just getting as big as we can. And I'm just working with Logs because at the end of the day, like I train hard, but when you get to a certain level, you just can't get those last few reps out. And I don't train with anyone because they always come to me for help. So I just pay Logs. I'm like, just kick my ass, just murder me, just get those last few reps out, because those last few reps are just those key. And that will just excel the growth much more than what I can do on my own. And some days you're just not there mentally. Some days you're tired from work and stuff. You still show up, but just having that person there just to absolutely obliterate you, which Logan always does. It's the best thing ever. I've enjoyed it.
No, it's very, very important. I do agree. You get to a certain point as an athlete where I think if you really do want to get that extra step further from your goals, you need to have someone that's there to push you. I think there's just some you have to have a certain like switch that's flicked to be able to do it yourself. But even then, I feel fundamentally it's very hard to know even where that is of, okay, yeah, I am really pushing to being dead, where that person there can really guide you. So I understand, in that regard, why you're choosing to still do that with Logan. You guys have got that bond, got that relationship, and you've built that teamwork from your previous prep. And, speaking on that show, I wanted to ask you, because I remember that was a really interesting juniors lineup. You had Jaden and you had Jarrod. And Jaden's made heaps of progress. I'm excited to see him back on season A. And so I'm interested, like when you were up there, and you being close with both boys, did you feel stepping on that stage, or when you saw them at the back, did you feel that this was mine? Were you going in there going, yep, this is it? Or was it like, fuck, these are the boys, they're looking good too. It could be a flip between first, second, third between us.
Yeah, I think everyone will have the mindset I'm going in to win. If you don't, it's like, why the hell are you competing?
Yeah.
So everyone does have that mindset of going in there to win, and I had that. I was tunnel vision for 56 weeks straight. Like nothing was going to stop me. And at the end of the day, like I always said, I always posted my stories. I'm only competing against myself. So I gave that commitment. If I lost, then I was like, okay, well, I've done everything in my power. These boys were just better. So when it came to being backstage, like I remember a couple of weeks out, like I was sending the boys like food stuff for trips down to Melbourne. It's just a fun culture, and I think if you're going to be a toss head and walk around with like a stick up your ass, it's like don't compete. Like a backstage, it's so fun with the boys. So we were just networking, having a laugh.
Yeah.
There's a video on my YouTube with me and Jarrod having little kisses at the back as we stack on some food and stuff. So it's just a great relationship. So when I went out on stage with those boys, like or even anyone, I was like, I always doubt my ability. I guess I don't doubt my ability, but you're always like, I'm not up myself. So I'm not walking around going, oh, I've got these boys, I'm going to beat them. So, I always question myself and go, oh, like, God, they look good. I don't think I'm that good. And I guess that's always something that's in me that, keeps me pushing to be better. So, it wasn't like, yeah, I've got these boys are shit, I'm going to win. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, because I was just focused on myself. So it's like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to go here. I've done everything I can. So when I came out on stage, even when I was posing, I still remember I was like, come on, Jarrod, get those legs on, like do this, do that, like hold your shit. It wasn't like I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, these boys are nothing, and just doing my poses. I was actually out there fighting to win. So they did have me worried. So, but it was good. Obviously, I came around with a win, but that was not the highlight of my time. Like it was great to win, but going backstage, touch the boys' asses, give them a hug, getting my treats out, having snacks at the back with them. That's what I love about the bodybuilding sport.
Yeah.
It's a shame we didn't get to do the Melbourne trip for the Arnolds, because then that's when we would have done, we'll send everyone like the restaurants and, eating out and organising all those plans. And that's what I enjoy about the competing. You walk away with a trophy, you're cool, but it's the people that you meet and network with. Like, and now, for example, like I sponsor Jaden, so you make lifelong friends from that. You know what I mean? And those boys that competed in New South Wales that we're going to catch up with down at Melbourne, that never happened, but we're now best friends and we keep talking every sort of week on Instagram. So it's those kind of relationships you take out of it. So I don't ever walk into a competition and think I'm better than anyone. I literally just go in there and focus on myself. And I'm just friendly. I just go out and make friends, and whatever happens on the day, it's a subjective sport. If I lose, come back to better. You know what I mean? But for me, I take control of me. So I can only do what I can do. So if I give it my all and I lose, then I can give myself a pat on the back. I did everything I can.
No, I think that I agree. I think that's important because it helps you. If you're going in there with a stick up your ass, like you're saying, and you're just hitting your shots, you're like, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I think you can somewhat see that in the physique, because you can see that, especially when you have everyone else on that stage, you can tell that they're fighting for it. So when you got the one guy, if, let's say you're not a genetic freak, like you kind of just seem a bit of like a dick, like you're saying. So, the fact that I think it's good to be in that mindset of, I'm on here, I know I've done everything, I'm going to win, but, I still need to fight for it no matter what, every second while I'm on this stage. I think it's really important. And I think that does show through to the judges.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you just give me 1 second? My daughter's just screaming. I'll just quickly grab her.
Oh, yeah, that's all right. No worries.
I'll give her a little feature. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
Just have a little nap so I could hear her waking up. But yeah, so where were we?
Oh, no, I was just saying about I think it's important to always be fighting no matter what, when you're on stage, and the judges can really tell like who's putting in the effort and who's kind of feeling a bit cocky or relaxed. And I think they do appreciate, everybody giving 110% on that stage. And I think it can, especially when it's close, edge off a couple of points towards you.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, you're 100% right. You can see the people that walk out and they just have that, I got this kind of attitude, and it's just like, yeah, you even see it backstage. It's just like, dude, smile,
Yeah.
have some fun. You know what I mean? We're all the same. We're all here.
That's what I
Like,
love about the community too, is like what you're saying. We all have fun, and it is a very personal sport. It's very selfish. It's very, I. But when it comes to the stage, that's when you really see everybody come together. Everyone's happy for everybody. You're having fun as athletes together. You've all suffered 16, 20, however long your prep's been out the back, and you're just there to enjoy and show up your hard work. And I think that's something that definitely, I would say, doesn't get highlighted enough, especially for a lot of outsiders. A lot of outsiders or people who haven't competed don't necessarily know about that side of it. But it's good to see that I think Tony does a really great job, and everybody else that helps run the shows, really create that very welcoming community at the back, with the athletes and everybody who regularly goes to shows and stuff.
yeah, exactly. It's one of the best things about the whole thing. Like I was saying, a trophy's a trophy, but
Yeah,
it's the friendships in that back community that makes. That's what I look forward to.
definitely.
Like I love going down to Melbourne for the qualifiers or the Arnolds or whatever it is, and or the nationals, and making a trip out of it, networking, having
Yeah,
fun, catch up with people, go train with people. That's what makes bodybuilding bodybuilding.
100%. It's all about the people. It's about the people and the experiences. It's what makes it
Exactly. Yeah.
life. Well,
100%.
last question, just to wrap things up, so you can get back to your daughter. I saw you post the other day, so I'm just interested to kind of hear how this is going to play into, your business and what the plan is for 2023 with your purpose was it Purpose Capital?
Yeah. Purpose capital.
Yeah.
So it's people get quite confused by what I do, which it's fair. But basically, purpose capital is essentially, you can picture it like the banner, the group.
Hmm.
So purpose capital, like I said on the post, so purpose is, the defining reason. It's our purpose. It's what defines us as a human. It's all those reasons. That's what purpose stands for. Capital is essentially a point of, if you look at capital cities, it's a
Yeah.
center of leadership. It's the center of something, typically governing or leadership or whatever. However, though, there is a contrary to it. So that you do have capital in terms of wealth and asset generation that is used to fund or loan other things. So purpose capital is the group that we label where we hold everything. So essentially, it's just a banner that we hold, pretty much all the assets. So when we do commercial properties, whatever like that, and then in that it withholds all of the companies.
Okay.
So the companies feed through that. So essentially, just picture purpose capital like a group.
Yeah.
So as we continue to expand, purpose capital will withhold other things that we do. So real estate, all of those sort of things as
Yeah, no,
well.
that makes more sense, because I was always confused between, like, I'm like, what is the actual, I'm like, I know purpose, but is the head thing purpose fitness? Is it purpose nutrition? So that's what that purpose capital is really good. This is the branding. This is the thing that you'll see. Then purpose fitness distribution, everything else underneath is the branch from the capital.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a name of things. So like when you present it to banks or
Yeah.
whatever, this is our our asset holding, and this is what that group withholds,
Yeah. All of them.
and it holds all the companies that we hold. So yeah, so we've got all the businesses under there now, and then obviously as we continue to expand, things will go into that. So essentially, when we look at our total assets as a company or as a group or as an individual, that's what the wealth generation will withhold.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, man. It's been a pleasure talking.
No worries at all. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Of course, I'm very excited for what 2023 will bring for Purpose Capital. I can't wait to watch your journey and continue to see you flourish. And
Yeah,
am excited to hopefully, like, the last couple of pictures you posted. I think you've made a lot of progress. Your physique's definitely looking, especially when I look back to how you were. I think just a bit post, the Arnold show and that. before COVID got a bit too out of hand. You know, like you're saying, your physique's definitely on a different level. You're definitely sitting a lot of better composition with a lot more size. So if you can make it back to stage, I'm excited for that too.
Yeah. So we're sitting. Well, the aim is to be, because we'll be entering the next weight class. So we're under 90s last time. So the next class is 102. So we're
Big
hopefully we've
boys.
added another 10 kilos on to the frame.
Yeah.
But time will tell when I get back. But I'm itching to get back. But look, health is good, life is good, and I'm looking good. So can't complain.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, you too, man. All right, take care.
See ya.